Good morning, everybody. I hope you're having a wonderful week. I wanted to hop on here and address a question that I've been asked a lot this week, and it's all about prereqs. There seems to be a lot of concern about not meeting the requirements for med school. What happens if you don't have a year of calculus or a year of English? And so I wanted to just quickly come on here and answer some questions that I've gotten a lot so that if I'm getting the questions and the appointments, probably a lot of people have the same questions. So first I want to start by saying, when we think about requirements in terms of classes or letters or really anything for med school, it's really important to understand that there isn't going to be one set of requirements that satisfies all med schools. A lot of people are surprised to learn that there are actually med schools out there that have no prereqs. They simply don't care. They don't check what classes you take. Now, those are fewer. There are fewer of those than those that do require them. But it's actually becoming more and more common for schools to drop their prereqs, and they're using a more competencies-based approach to admissions rather than a requirements-based approach. But for the schools that still require certain courses, there's not going to be a universal truth to this. So it's really important that when you make your school list, you go to the actual websites and you check the requirements on the websites. And the reason why I think it's really important to check the websites, even if you're using a third party source to check that information, is because schools can change their requirements at any time. They can decide tomorrow they're going to add a requirement in. And guess what? They don't send a text message to everyone in the country that says, hey, we just added a requirement. And so it's important for you to be really aware by going to the primary source yourself. It's always good to do primary research to know what the schools are looking for. And you're hopefully going to their sites anyway, because that's how you build a really good school list, is by knowing schools. So while you're in there, just pop into the admissions page real quick, just check the requirements and make a list on your Excel sheet on your school list of any outstanding courses that you might have for each med school that you're applying to. You do not need to have your prereqs done by the time you apply. Now, most schools don't worry about this because in order to take the MCAT, the average person needs to have taken a decent amount of science in order to do well on that test. So what do I mean by that? Most people take bio, chem, physics, OChem, and then a lot of people choose to take things like physiology, biochem, genetics, not because it's like necessarily tested on, but there are concepts in those courses that you might see on the MCAT. And so taking those upper div courses might help reinforce some of that knowledge. So when you go to take the test, you have a couple, you might get a few more points. So they don't require, most med schools don't require biochem, but almost everybody takes biochem. Because you need it for the MCAT. So there's a big difference, right? Do you need to take biochem before you apply? Not necessarily. I mean, most schools don't require it. Should you take biochem before you take the MCAT? Well, that depends on who you ask. Lots of different opinions on that. Lots of different resources say different things. But when it comes to actual requirements, so let's say a school says they require 1 year of math. Everyone assumes that that means 1 year of calculus. But if you ask most schools, I guarantee you, ask this question yourself, see if I'm wrong. They will tell you that they actually prefer that you take statistics. You're going to use statistics much more in your life than you'll ever use calculus. Calculus is necessary for physics. Most physics are calculus-based physics courses. But for real life work, you're going to use statistics. You're going to use statistics in your research. Hopefully, you learn some kind of a tool like R or SPSS, something where you can analyze data. And so that's the stuff they're really looking for. So if you didn't take 1 full year of calculus, let's say you took 1 semester of calculus and 1 semester of statistics, you're good. You have 1 year of math. Let's say hypothetically you're in a quarter system and you took 3 quarters of calc. And in one of those quarters, you got a C minus. So that won't count towards med school requirements, but you took a quarter of stats. So you're good. You have 1 year of math. So, if you're worried about not meeting the math requirements and you haven't taken statistics, I would encourage you to take statistics at a community college to meet that requirement. And you can do that up until the point you start med school. So you need the prereqs done by the time you matriculate to med school, not by the time you apply to med school. And the same thing is true for English. A lot of med schools require 1 year of English. You don't have to have it all done when you hit submit. So if you know you're missing English, check the schools that require it, make a list. These are the schools I'm still going to have to take English at if I get an interview. And if you get an interview at any of those schools, then you better register for an online English class or go take it at a CC before and have that grade before July of the year you're starting med school. I hope that's clear. If you have any questions, send me a message. I'm happy to clarify anything that I just said. Have a great day, everybody.